This would be a
Chris is not coming tonight. Chris is not coming. He's not able to attend. And Sarah will be joining us virtually. Okay.
Okay, well, we can call the meeting to order. I think it's officially 6:03. We can raise to say the Pledge of Allegiance now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone to our special meeting, our second meeting of the month at Board of Education meeting, and we have our special guest, Mayor Broderick, with us today. Dee Dee, we can just do a quick roll call so we have the group intact. That'd be great.
We have Arthur Cole, Valerie Mistiano, Kathy Grant, Kate Botella, Megan Mix. Absent is Chris Wilson, and joining us virtually soon will be Sarah Thompson. Also present is Mary Broderick, Amy Cephalano, Board Clerk, myself, Dee Jackman, and some members of Darlene LaRanger, and members of the community, Brian Callio, Ned Clear, Joe, and Rachel, and Rich McConnell.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. It's not mandatory except for us committee members, but we did want to welcome the public for this special session as we review with Mary the superintendent search results after she did a very wonderful kind of lengthy job of doing individual surveys and focus groups. This is a time for us to reflect on that data that she compiled for us and answer any questions and see where we are going forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
There are some copies over there, but I think everybody has one and they'll be available for people.
I didn't introduce Mary Broderick.
I think I did a little briefly, so you're good. You got it covered. Thank you, Dee Dee.
Not a problem. As I think every one of you appreciates, this is probably the most important process and act that you as school board members take in selecting a new leader for the district. And you know that the impact of it can last as much as 20 years when we think about Adam's tenure here. And because of your recognizing how important it is, I know that you wanted as broad an outreach to the community as possible through this process. So there were focus groups that were offered early in February, and then a survey that was open to the community between January 29th and February 14th. There were 13 interviews and focus groups scheduled. And I spoke with 51 individuals through that process. In addition, 41 people took the survey. I realize these numbers do seem a little on the low side, but it's also recognizing how small your overall community is. So I think we probably heard the variety of perspectives that exist out there. I especially want to thank Dee Dee for her help in getting the word spread. I know Amy also played a part in ensuring that people were aware of the opportunity to participate in this process. Mm-hmm. So I'm going now to the page 3 in the profile, which is the data collection page. And you'll see the breadth of participation. Even though numbers weren't high, you did have a good cross-section of the community participate. In total, there were 92 individuals who participated. I went with Adam to the seniors monthly lunch, so the seniors do seem to be pretty significantly represented here with 19 people who were there. And the others were all maybe more voluntary participants in the focus groups. But you'll see you had 22% were your faculty in the focus groups and interviews. You at 13% or 14% of board members, 5% of 10% were non-certified staff, 10% were town and elected officials, 6% were administrators, And then we only had 2% parent representation in those. I think it speaks to how busy parents are these days. But there were a few more in terms of the survey. So we had 23% of the participation in the survey were parents and guardians, and 23% were teachers. 21% were general community residents, and it really is unusual to see that high an interest from your general community. I commend you for that. 12.5% were town and elected and appointed officials, and then 7% support staff, 5.5% administrators and board members. Okay, so what did we find? These are in order of the most often mentioned. So definitely the strong sense of community that exists in Voluntown was mentioned just about everywhere, with 43 people citing it. There's tremendous pride in this close-knit community. Connections run deep. Teachers, administrators, and parents are working together to create a family culture. There's a spirit of support and camaraderie throughout the town and school, and that strengthens trust and ensures that children feel a sense of belonging in the school. 25 people mentioned the dedicated and caring staff, with teachers investing their time into ensuring that each child has a high quality experience. The district values teacher input and gives them the opportunity to have a voice in curriculum development and determination of what resources they have in the classrooms. And administrators support staff in generating an environment of trust, not micromanaging them, and allowing teachers the freedom to innovate. 22 people talked about small class sizes and individualized attention being a huge strength of Voluntown, and that commitment to small class size is highly valued with personalized instruction. There's a sense that children simply don't slip through the cracks here. There were 16 mentions of the collaboration between the school, the parents, and the town, and how much that engages parents in the schools. The town hall and the school district have strong communications and work together on securing grants and making sure that resources are appropriately allocated. There's also the support for the community organizations that support children. Your youth services, I know, are highly valued here, offering the after-school programs and mentorship opportunities and that kind of thing. Next was the safe and supportive and positive school environment. And now we're seeing the numbers come down a little bit. We're just at 9 mentions of this, but the sense that you have a very welcoming and safe culture, where educators and staff create a culture of respect, students feel valued and heard, and they're appreciative of the strong relationships and supportive work environment. Next was extracurricular and enrichment opportunities, with 6 mentions of the opportunities in sports and music and drama, and what that, and NESS, the New England Science and Sailing opportunities students have, and how great that is for developing their confidence and leadership skills and opportunities to grow beyond the classroom. There were 6 mentions also of the rural and natural environment and how unique an opportunity that is for the children of Voluntown to have this peaceful environment for learning, and nature walks and environmental studies being part of the opportunity. And now we're getting into lower numbers. There were 5 mentions of efficiency and adaptability, that really the determination to squeeze every nickel, and but making decisions with student success in mind. It's considered a nimble and forward-thinking approach, allowing Voluntown to maintain a high standard of education while managing costs responsibly. Okay, moving on to challenges. And the question I would ask is, what challenges will this new leader be confronted with? And number one, surprise, surprise, will be budget and financial constraints that came in with 29 mentions, and how difficult it is to maintain services while keeping class sizes, keeping taxes low. And that especially as financial pressures grow, and I assume you're feeling this here, I feel like every community in this state is really in that dilemma of how do we keep doing what we know we need to do with the resources that we have access to. You also have, there's a concern that just how carefully the district is going to need to allocate resources to support learning and have competitive salaries and make the infrastructure improvements that you need. The second most mentioned was staffing and retention, and the fact that it's difficult to attract people with the salary scales that are on the lower side. And even though you have done a good job retaining qualified staff, that there are more people who are nearing retirement, and it's going to be hard if you don't have sufficiently competitive salaries to ensure that you have the opportunity to find excellent teachers to come to Voluntown. There were 15 who mentioned the Board of Ed issues and governance, feeling that the oversight of the board will need to be strengthened, and ensuring that you have high quality decision-making in place, that some people, especially new to the role, may not fully understand the role, and that can breed conflicts and inefficiencies. There's a sense that the board could use some training and clearer governance structures, and ensure that that commitment to collaboration will help the board serve the district better.
Sounds like it's a plug for CABE services.
Well, it's just interesting because CABE is always the one that's like, we shouldn't be involved in the decision making, but this is saying strengthen our decision making.
Yeah,
so
I know, I'm saying like the.
No, that's just,
the
I think it's just an
building.
interesting dynamic, right? It's like you finding that happy balance,
It
right?
depends. Well, so much of it is about what is your lane for decision making?
Right.
So
Yep.
what are the
Right.
decisions that you should be involved
Sure.
in making, and how do you make those decisions effectively, and do you fully understand your role? This is not unique.
Yeah,
to
no, I
Voluntown.
would imagine.
Mhm.
So
That's why we love CABE for those reasons, that an annual
yeah.
brush up on the roles and expectations is always helpful.
Great. So there were 11 people who mentioned the aging infrastructure and the costly repairs, the needs, and this is another thing I'm seeing in a lot of places, the air quality expectations in our schools now, the HVAC upgrades that are needed. You have an aging bus fleet, surprise, surprise. So the other thing that I'm finding is that our older schools have a harder time delivering 21st century education with, I don't know whether this is as much the case here, but just not having enough electricity in the building to ensure that all of your Chromebooks can be charged for the whole day, kind of thing.
I think we're good on that.
Good.
I never
Okay.
hear anything about
That's great.
not having enough electricity.
Full house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pull up.
Can't take any more.
Okay.
We've had that discussion.
Okay, yeah.
There were 10 who mentioned school size and enrollment challenges, that it's harder when you have declining enrollments to continue to offer as diverse an academic spread or academic programming as when you have a more robust enrollment. So you continue to look for innovative ways to balance that. So that will be an ongoing challenge. And then there were 9 mentions of community resistance to change. Community and staff. There is concern that even though there is the opportunity to be innovative, that some community members and some staff members resist change and make it difficult to implement necessary improvements. And that close-knit and warm environment can also have the downside of being a little too insular. There were 8 who mentioned the quality of education and student support. Just the need to continue to pay attention to reading and STEAM and special ed and mental health needs, and that you expand life skills programs to ensure that students see their pathways for future learning. There were 7 who mentioned the leadership transition and how hard it will be to fill the shoes of a popular, well-respected leader. It's always harder to move into the shoes of somebody who has been successful. 6 mentioned transportation issues, and you know all about that, the shortage of bus drivers and the aging vehicles, and ensuring that your program offers competitive pay and then doesn't price you, doesn't run into too heavy increases in that area for you. And then there were 5 mentions of external regulations and mandates being done to by Hartford. And I remember my first meeting with you, we were hearing about the ECS cuts, the education cost sharing cuts and issues there. And then there were just 4 mentions of the potential but challenge of ensuring that while you want to take advantage thoughtfully of the digital tools that can enhance learning, there are downsides of potential drawbacks to AI and other technologies that you just need to stay up to date about and make sure you have the finger on the pulse. Okay, so moving on to what people would like to see in a new leader. In terms of, we asked about, these are all survey responses for the next 2 pages. And we asked both about expertise and about qualities. So in terms of expertise, there were 4 areas that really rose to the top as far as people's very first choice went. So people were asked to rank what was most important to them, 1 to 10 in this area. And by far the most, 30%, first choice was possess strong budget and finance knowledge and skills. Because I know here, the role of the superintendent really has historically been to make sure that you are able to find that fine line between tight budgets and educational excellence. Right? So that's what people want to see, attention.
We don't have a business manager.
So you need that skill.
You know, so the superintendent takes that role.
Second, actually, is communicates and collaborates effectively in school and community with 22.5% of participants, ranking that number 1. And then there was a tie for 3rd place with builds trusting relationships with student, staff, and community, and shares district-wide vision of excellence and innovative instruction, both at 15%. And you see the others are significantly below those figures. So then I looked at the people's top 3 choices, and it shakes out just slightly differently with possess a strong budget and finance right up there still at almost 22%. Now second is builds trusting relationships, and we all know how important that is to this work. And communicating and collaborating effectively has dropped into 3rd place, but clearly still right up there as an important consideration. So moving on to qualities, we have 1, 2, 3 for the first choice, which are the same 1, 2, 3 for the top 3 choices. Number 1, and this was, I think, something I heard everywhere I went, was accessible, approachable, and visible. People want to know who this leader is. 25% of them had that as their first choice. And then 20% had keep student growth and well-being their primary focus. So when somebody is making a decision, you want to know that kids are at the heart of, and the well-being of kids are what is driving those decisions. Somebody who's trustworthy and honest and respectful at 20% for first choice. And again, the same for 1, 2, and 3 on top 3 choices. So what does this mean? And what I did was I then took all of the comments, both in the focus groups and on the survey, and analyzed them in light of those skills. And what people were saying was they want somebody who can really demonstrate financial acumen and balance student and school needs with community resources. Somebody who has a deep understanding of budget management, who is adept at applying for and securing grants. In terms of building trusting relationships, obviously it's really critical that this leader is present so that they can build strong relationships with students and staff and the community. Taking the time to learn your history and culture, and being personable, actively listening, and demonstrating an interest in the well-being of not just kids, but staff and community members. Communicating and collaborating, effective communication is key, as you well know, and this individual must clearly and concisely convey information, again, be an active listener, work collaboratively with town leaders, with educators, with the seniors, and foster a sense of connection and trust. Keeping students' growth and well-being the primary focus, with every decision prioritizing student development, academic success, and overall well-being. And then finally, this person needs to be honest and transparent and respectful, respect the community's values, really be mindful of the tax burden that this small town needs to endure in order to support the school in an effective way. And lead with integrity, with vision, with a deep commitment to both academic excellence and community well-being, and again, with that focus on student growth and success. So that's what I heard. Any surprises? Any observations? Any questions? Comments?
Not very surprised at all. I mean, those are, I'm surprised by numbers a bit, just because of obviously the outreach and the newsletters, and specifically the parents that receive the newsletter and swear by reading it, and how much we put it out there in various town sources. I think I understand focus groups are a little hard to do because of timing and just not wanting to potentially maybe like make that known that they were saying that, but I think in a survey that's anonymous, go at it, feel free to.
Yeah.
But
How few teachers and support staff did this survey,
Right.
looking for their input onto what they want for their next leader.
I will also say, I think the communities where I see the highest levels of participation in these focus groups and survey are those where there are major issues. So take it as a good sign that people trust what you're doing.
well, yeah.
I also think based on the top three of each being so largely separate from the bottom,
Yeah.
it's probably a safe trend to assume that if we had more participation, it probably would have gone along with these.
I think that's right. Even though the numbers were small, it felt like there were some consistent messages
Yeah.
that I think probably are representative of the community at large. So what we'll do with this now is use this as a bit of a guide for your selection of candidates to interview, developing interview questions. We share it with your candidates so that they are eyes wide open on what to expect. And then also, as you analyze your candidate pool, we'll just make sure that it's the best match for Voluntown this time. So,
Do you have any applications yet?
yes.
Oh, good.
Do I wish the numbers were higher? Yes. I have redoubled efforts in outreach, and I know this is also a busy time for leaders, and even those who are thinking about retiring are pretty up to here with budgets right now. So, but I will keep that up, and I'm with you until you find the right person.
Are you gonna start interviews soon?
We'll start them when we have some, I think we have dates.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah, we
dates
have
picked,
dates.
so they start on a schedule,
Yeah. And do them over a couple of days without
March.
March.
Are you
April.
doing them after school?
We do it at the school. We haven't determined exactly where. We're doing them here, probably.
Yeah, that's where we've done them in the
Figure that out,
past.
but that's-
Well, if it's in this month, I need to know the date so I can clear the conference room.
Yeah.
Hopefully all the board will be there for them. They're in the evening, all of them.
Okay.
Or one on Saturday or something.
Wasn't it 5 p.m. or?
Yeah, one's early though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if we can move it later, because I can't make that one if it's early. But we can discuss that after.
Yeah. And
It's the first one that's on the list.
does
You
any of the
mentioned if our
public
pool
that
of
came
applicants is like, okay,
The 25th.
maybe
the
not,
25th of
can we
March?
go back
Yes.
and 4:45
And I teach
discuss
until 5:30.
what we can do in this role? Is there any flexibility in this role? What
It
do we
starts,
do?
it goes.
Yeah, we will have that conversation. I know, in my experience, people tend to wait until the last minute to apply.
Yeah.
And your date is still off a bit, so I'm not nervous yet, but I'm really pulling in some connections with people and encouraging them to be beating the bushes too. So we will find somebody. We'll find the right person.
That confidence.
Yeah. The right person has some good other administrative between Amy and Roy being here. We have some strong underpinnings, so they're not coming in
Right.
just floundering by themselves. And Darlena has everything under that high heel. Under control and stuff, so, you know, there's some strong support for them coming in. They're not hitting a mess either.
Right.
Our budgets have been pretty good, and our input with the town is usually fairly well. We don't have any big issues going on that we know of and stuff, so that's a nice thing, not to come into someplace where everybody is bickering and fighting.
It's rare. It is so interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that is
Or
it.
global pandemic, it's just some of the things like that, we're kind of in well, there's always something going on, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be a challenge, but I think hopefully what you're saying is it's budget season and
Yeah.
there's,
People are busy finishing up and trying to
Yes.
Yeah.
get everything together.
if they can get that raise they wanted or not.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. I don't know whether Sarah joined.
She never did.
No. Okay.
Rachel, did you have any input you wanted? Rachel used to be in our office.
I participated in
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's just good to kind of see
Yeah.
the feedback from,
Yeah.
and the numbers and that there's some
And I think
consensus.
it's indicative of even voting wise throughout the country. It's more the seniors, they're they take the time
Yeah.
to do this stuff, and they have the time.
Yes, and they were delighted to offer their
Yeah.
perspectives.
Mhm.
That's great.
And
We had a captive audience going to their meetings, so I think if you did that with certain, because when did you do the faculty and staff? Was that a after-school thing?
I have got it right on the second page, so.
4 to 5.
Yeah, two times, once at 4 and once at 6.
So, yeah, after-school programs, it's hard to get everybody at the same time, so.
Yeah. We hope to hit some right after school and some, but there were 11 who participated.
That's
So,
great, yeah.
Yeah.
Question. As for, in regards to like the thought of the business manager thing, like do a lot of schools have like a finance committee, like with the department heads is that common with schools for creating the budget and everything? I'm just curious.
The board might have a budget and finance committee. Yeah.
maybe some, depending on the next.
I did ask around, I don't know, I called a couple of schools, none of them have that.
I'm shared
I know
it
some
for many
schools.
years.
That's what a lot of
Yeah.
schools do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on
Yeah.
some towns have their own like board of
Finance,
finance, which is,
Yeah.
some of the smaller or
I'm just saying,
medium districts,
Yeah.
I'd say.
They meet quarterly, you know, maybe.
She's wanting the teachers to take over the budget and staff. That's what Dee Dee's talking
No,
about.
I think
No.
she's talking
No, I
about
don't
just
think
more,
so.
like we've talked about before, like going line by line versus just generic summary of the budget, and I think she's
But
just.
also, like, I'm just saying, it just would, I think it would be wise of any school, in my opinion anyways, to have maybe a quarterly department head and administrative meetings to review upcoming budgets. That's my
Well, I
thought,
think
but
so.
also training for,
Well, you do have a central office that does everything, so
Yeah.
you do have that.
It depends
Not
on the
letting you know
structure
that
of
was
the
another.
school, but schools do do that. They might not call it a
whatever,
finance meeting.
that was just a.
They have, each school that I've had experience with has their own individual budget process.
Right.
Yeah, it just depends on what we lay out at the beginning of the year to say whether we're gonna review.
Yeah, and what we want for.
I think it just
what
allows
oversight
more
we want.
eyes to be on it than just the one, like just the superintendent presenting the budget and this is it. Right, it has a discussion of more, at least a couple more people inputting or looking at.
Yeah, we've had, I think we obviously have carte blanche of how we wanna work with our new
I was
superintendent.
gonna say, that's a good thing about somebody new coming in, is
Yeah.
we can kind of decide what we want that to look like.
But we do a monthly thing of every item bought in every category. I don't think
Right, but
people,
that's not an initial budget. I'm talking
But,
like the initial,
you know.
where is it gonna go?
but even with that, you can tell, he can break that out for you.
And yet you don't want to get too.
No, you don't want to get too into the weeds.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
I mean, our finance committee would meet definitely once a month, but sometimes during budget season, more like once a week.
Yeah.
And we would talk, I mean, it was high level, but it was, how are we tracking?
Yeah.
And do these requests for budget match our values? Because budget is a values document, right? So there are certainly structures that wouldn't be too onerous for a board committee to meet regularly. And we had administrators and staff and board meeting together on that topic. So something we can talk about.
Yeah,
another time.
with that.
Food for thought.
Yep.
Great. So, Amy, any questions from the far right? I know, a lot falls on, that's the part-time element of it, I don't,
Yeah.
I was saying in the beginning, the whole process, learning how many school districts around us actually use a part-time superintendent. I thought we were, there was only a handful of us, but there's quite a few. And,
We're 21, I think, statewide.
21, yeah.
And I think a lot of them are in eastern Connecticut here and northwest corner.
Exactly, yeah.
But we understand how much pressure
Yeah.
that puts on the whole staff. So that's,
Yeah.
we
Right.
value the give and take that is, because we as a town have the benefit of less, a salary, but spread the wealth with everybody else, wealth of work. So it takes a village for sure. Okay. Any more questions for Mary? So I just from a administrative perspective, so we obviously have our next board meeting that will not involve this process, but then we have prior to the we just chose the 25th, I think, because that worked for everybody. Which is a Tuesday versus a Thursday, which would be the second board meeting, generally special board meeting time. That would be the first round of superintendent interviews.
And that's at 4:45, we had said.
Yes.
So my question is, because there's a good chance that I'm not gonna be here for
Yeah, you're
4:45. So is there a way, since the first round is the round that we ask the same questions to everybody, is like, I will get here as soon as I can floor it from East Greenwich when my 5:30 class ends. But is there a way to like record the first portion of it so that it could be revisited afterwards? Or I'm looking at Mary's face and she's like, maybe not, no.
I would wonder, was there a reason that we couldn't go later?
I thought you said they go very late at night.
Well,
We were talking, it was
Yeah, I
gonna
think
be
the
up.
intent was to try to get as many done that night as possible.
It may be that going earlier isn't an issue.
Right, if we don't have a ton of people, then
Yeah.
we probably could go later.
Yeah.
And so,
So we'll try to be flexible with that to
Yeah.
start later, especially if we,
We
it's
don't
only
have-
3 candidates or,
Right, I mean, we can discuss it on the next board
Yeah.
meeting too. I just kind of wanted to put that little bug out that there's a
I
good
don't think
chance.
somebody would wanna be taped interviewing.
No,
I
okay.
wouldn't be.
I really would not want you sort of analyzing all of the applicants without having really sat with each of them.
Yeah.
So I would encourage, I mean, I certainly can be flexible time-wise and hope that we can accommodate.
and yeah, I think then we get a little bit more picked up in April, so. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for all of this work and the town's participation and really focusing our efforts to put together just a nice package for potential candidates, because we want them to see what's important to our town.
And I hope that comes through loud and clear,
Yeah.
what's important to you. So, thank you. It was a
Wonderful.
pleasure to meet with all of your constituents too. Yeah, so thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your time. So, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Short and
Favor?
sweet.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion passes.